All right, it's top of the hour. I don't know that we have our guest yet, but hopefully he'll be popping in here any minute. I'm going to start with some housekeeping and just explain for those that are wondering. So I am currently driving from Pennsylvania to Florida. We're more than halfway in. I'm taking my oldest son to a baseball tournament. It was supposed to be last week. The hurricane bumped it back a week. And because of flight costs and other conflicts, we're driving instead of flying like we were going to last week. So I'm going to keep my eyes on the road. I'm going to stay focused on the more important task. But I didn't want to reschedule today because we've had some great sessions recently. And I think today is a great follow-up to some of the things that we've been sharing and some of the tools and technology that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. So if you haven't been either able to attend live with us or check out the replays, 3 weeks ago, we talked about our process for leveraging listings. How do we market them? How do we syndicate them? What do we do to turn one listing into multiple listings? And also, as or more importantly, at the same time, get our client the best result possible, right? Get the most exposure, the most interested buyers, the most offers, and negotiate that highest and best, that, maximum equity for the client. So that was 3 weeks ago. I think it was September 25th. All of the replays, Mike has been diligent about getting them added to wakeup.realestate. There's an entire page just with all the replays. B, they're automatically live as a replay in the Wake Up Real Estate Facebook group, which many of you may be watching. And in fact, if you're watching in there, give a thumbs up, just like when I do a thumbs up, apparently Zoom throws the thumbs up on the page there. Give us a thumbs up in there, or even hit the love button if you're enjoying these in the group, these live streams. We also get it added to YouTube, the YouTube channel, Wake Up Real Estate YouTube channel, and we rip out the audio and get it up on the Wake Up Real Estate podcast as well. So 3 weeks ago, we were talking about syndicating listings and marketing listings to turn one listing into multiple and to get the best result for the client. 2 weeks ago, we had John Smarty on, and that was an incredible session on building out a CRM that leverages AI and best practices and great technology. And we've had a bunch of people sign up for Smarty's version of the CRM. And Smarty and I and Mike have been working to get some of our best performing scripts natively in the CRM so that you could use one of the many conversation starting scripts that we have in our toolkit to get a conversation going, and then have an AI chatbot turn that conversation into an appointment on your calendar. And that one, we had some incredible feedback. We've had a bunch of people sign up, and we're using it to get appointments. In fact, a couple this morning. I had an appointment with an expired listing yesterday before heading out that came from using that CRM. Last week, we had two guests, Ryan Hartman of Thanks.io and Joe Peterson with iList. And I'm doing my best to strategically tie these together in such a way that they all sort of make sense in an ecosystem of helping you get more listings, sell those listings, and turn it into more listings. And so last week, iList is a seller engagement dashboard and a cash offer platform that we have been using for over a year now. And then Thanks.io is the direct mail platform that we utilize to send out just listed, pending, just sold, to send out circle prospecting or geo-targeting type of direct mail campaigns to get hand raisers, to get interested people who are thinking about selling their home, listing their home, and position you as that person. And all of the resources that I'm using, all of the technology, the tech stack, the resources that we've been talking about over the past few weeks, you can get those at growwithjosh.com/tech tech. growwithjosh.com/tech. Mike will get it into the chat. If you're in the Zoom room with us, he'll drop that as a comment on Facebook. And Mike, I forgot to mention this in the green room. If you can also try to monitor the Facebook comments, just if we have timely questions or points of emphasis, things of that nature. I can't look at the chat in the Zoom room or our comments on Facebook either. So if you could do that and chime in where appropriate. Do we have Burton yet?
Yeah, sorry. The answer is yes. I
Can
couldn't
anybody
find
hear
my
me?
mute
Okay.
button. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. All right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, sweet, sweet. So, Mike, can you spotlight Burton as well? And maybe you already have. And so today, we're going to be talking about. So the reason why I went back and sort of summarized the last few weeks is because if you've got a great CRM and the technology and the AI and you've got great scripts, et cetera, and you've got a seller engagement dashboard that you can send people to get them engaging and maybe even requesting cash offers, and you've got great pieces of direct mail, there's still one missing piece there, and that's data. That's people to be putting through the system. And one data source that we've been using for years now, and in fact, you can go and find, maybe Mike can dig up. We have a playlist of, a whole bunch of sessions that we did with Burton and even some that I did without Burton about this data provider, which is called Propstream. And you can get a free trial. It's either a 7 or 14 day or maybe 21 days. I think it's a 7-day trial at
It's a 7-day
growwithjosh.com.
trial. Yeah,
Perfect.
but
Thank you.
for those that are attending here, if you guys sign up, use Josh's link. You guys will get a discount doing so. Okay.
And the link is in that Google Doc that I shared, growwithjosh.com/tech, or you can go directly to sign up for a trial at growwithjosh.com/PS. And I know many of you on here have been hearing me talk about PropStream for a while, so you may already have an account with them. And you might have to log in with a new one or log in with that one or create a new one with a different email if you want to do a new trial. And so what I wanted to have Burton on here today to show us is how we can build targeted lists or audience of motivated sellers in our market, and the different and powerful ways that you can filter with PropStream to find those people in the specific zip code that you may want to be working in, or the specific city, or if you're in a more rural area, maybe you're targeting an entire county, and what their different preset filters look like and how you can use those, but also how you can get into the weeds and get really creative with.
I think we lost you.
Yeah, he's driving.
Burton, you're muted. And Josh is frozen.
Thank you, James, for that. Yeah, I said we could probably give it a few seconds and then I could jump in and kind of give you guys the demonstration of PropStream. Actually, while we wait for a few moments, if you guys want to volunteer, does anybody want to put in like their city in the chat? I could use that during our demonstration today, so you could see, the type of data that we collect and then how you can manipulate it. I don't, depending on how many are in there, I'm not sure if I could go through all of them, but I'll do my best to jump back and forth. All right, cool. Thank you guys for that. All right, it looks like Mike, it looks like Josh has completely ditched us. Shall I go ahead and get started?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, awesome. Hey guys, again, my name is Burton. I'll be your tour guide today for PropStream. A little brief history on PropStream. We've been in business since 2006, and our main objective was to be the middleman when it comes to this data stuff. Back then, a lot of the investors like yourself, or real estate professionals in general, would physically go to the county, the clerk's office, grab that information, and then run with it. You also had the NMLS, so a lot of people back then would buy properties on market, and so the buying off market approach was very rare in a sense until technology kind of boosted that up a little bit. So we've been in business since 2006. Our main objective is to go collect that data on your behalf and bring it into PropStream. Obviously, we've been doing it now for 18 years. I joined the team back in 2013, so I've had the blessing to work with professionals like you guys for over a decade now. And then in 2022, our company was acquired by Stewart Title. They saw the power of our data and what we were doing with it. They just couldn't refuse to not let us walk away independently. So they acquired us, and we're now part of the Stewart Title Company. So that's a little history of us. Where I'd like to start is the quick elevator pitch. What can it do for me? Well, PropStream, let's start with pricing because I don't like waiting till the very end. There is a monthly subscription to it, and it's $97 a month. There's no yearly contracts or anything of that nature. It's just $97 a month. You can cancel at any time if you'd like. So if you only want to use it for a month to pull a list and then, cancel it until you get a lead or something, you can definitely do that. Your data will remain as well. But for your $97 a month, there are going to be two things that you're going to be able to do with PropStream, right? And these are the two things you're probably already doing in your business, regardless of PropStream or not. The first option that you can do with our data is analyze a property. You can zoom in on the map and click on a parcel, or you can type in an address and go into the details, and this is what we provide you. Property details, demographics subject to the property. So not the city's demographics, but 1 mile around the property, how many renters, how many owners, income brackets, household compositions, and so forth. Mortgage information. So if you're doing anything creative, you're going to be able to see who the lender is, if it's assumable, what the rates are. Link properties. We took the tax address and reverse engineered it so you can see how many other properties the owner has under their name. You can run comps using our cell data, and we have both public records and MLS data. So whether you're in a non-disclosure state like Texas, for example, Utah, Kansas, just to name a few, you can use our MLS data to get a value on a property. For all the other states, you can use both public records, MLS data. You can buy documents. The red asterisk is an indicator that it is an additional cost. So if you wanted to buy the deed of the property or the pre-foreclosure document, it's $5. And then we have some rehab calculators in there that you can use. So if you want to know what a kitchen would cost at a local level, or what an additional dwelling unit or an accessory dwelling unit would cost, an ADU would cost the garage, we have those calculators for you. So that's the first thing you can do. Type in an address, go into the details, and you're going to get all that information, okay?
Hey, Burton, I'll throw out for everybody. One of the ways that I've been using this particular function a lot is if I have a buyer client, whether they're an investor or traditional, just buying a primary residence, is I will send them this because it's way more detailed and, way more information than what they'll get from the MLS sheet. And I just I find that is a simple way to provide more value to those clients. And they either think the information cool because they can see like, okay, what was the sequence of ownership? When did it change? What was it purchased for last, and things like that, which I guess they can they can pull together some of that information on their own by going to different platforms. But I don't know. I just found that it's a simple, quick to clients. And sometimes it also gives them off their list and can save you time. So a lot of times I actually send that to them before we physically go look at the property.
Very smart strategy there. So before we head on, let's just show you guys that aspect really quick. So we have a few volunteers here. I see Denver was the first one thrown at us. So let's say I had a lead in Denver. Now, please don't put any addresses in the chat just in case. Don't want you to risk losing a lead or anything. Not that anybody would do that, but you just never know. But anyway, so let's say someone called me, right? And hey, I want to sell my house. I got to sell in 90 days, blah, 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 blah. The cool thing about PropStream is you'll be able to, again, zoom in and either click on a parcel to get property details. And I'm only doing that because I don't have an address. So as I zoom in, I can click on this property here. And it gives me just this property's information, like beds, bathrooms. And then I can go into the detail and really get all the information. But before we do that, I actually recommend that you search addresses instead. The only time I would actually click on a parcel is if it's like a vacant lot or a commercial building you just don't know the information on. Then I would click on a parcel. But once you get the address, like I just did, search it in the search address because when you do that, not only do we pull up the property for you, which is now on the right-hand side here, but we can fill in the local environment. We can show you how many listings are in the city, how many cash transactions have occurred in that city, the neighbors, which are the green dots. So subject property is green, and the neighbors are these red ones right over here. And you can see the neighboring records here on the right side. At the bottom of the map, statistics. So you can see whether there's been trends in the price or rent aspect, days on market. This is a 4-bedroom property. The MLS indicates usually 4 bedrooms sell in about 74 days in Denver. So lots of very, very valuable information. And let's not forget Google Maps. I think one of the most overlooked technologies that we have in today's world. But I always love using the little Google guy here at the bottom right corner. Drop yourself in front of the house, take a picture, take a look at the property. Again, the reason I personally like this, first off, disclosure, these are not live photos. We all understand that, we're at the mercy of when Google drives by and takes their photos. But the reason I like using Google Maps is you could see a lot of things. And those things can be an indicator of property condition or building rapport. You might see a nice car in the driveway. You might see a trampoline. You might see a basketball court. These are things that you could ask and build that relationship that no one else has built. So again, this is one of the things I like to highlight because this wasn't around. This has only been around for the last maybe 15 years, 20 years. Prior to that, you had real estate professionals sitting in their office wondering, man, if I could just see your house somehow, some way without leaving the office. There you have it, guys. Again, it's not live data, but it's a good indicator for property condition and building rapport. But
I hope
when you're
everybody
going
wrote down that little tidbit that Burton shared, because that little idea of taking something that you see, and you can't, there's not the street view of every property, but you're going to get it more often than not. And using some bit of information there to ask a question that they're not getting from other people when talking about their property completely changes their perspective of you, right? Like, hey, is there still a basketball hoop out front? Do you, whatever, just that, or that, the trampoline, that the cars. I just love that of just asking, giving you the opportunity to ask a little bit of a different question and getting them to open up about, or related to that question. That was really good.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I caught someone else doing that, and I thought that was a genius move on their behalf. But
Yes, love it.
when we're actually again negotiating or analyzing the property, underwriting, whatever you're doing, I would recommend going into the details of that property. And this is what you get. Part of your $97 is okay, break this property down for me. So when I go into the details of this property, I randomly searched in Denver. I see the address. I see some tools at the top, like our rehab calculator, our ADU calculator. I can leave notes on this property only for me to see, nobody else. So if I leave a note and you guys search this address right now, you're not going to see any of that stuff. The print button is exactly what Josh was referring to. So that print button, let me see if I can show you an example of that. CMA report. That print button generates this PDF file. It's called our CMA report or comparative market analysis report. And it breaks down everything that we have on the property detail, ownership history, lien histories, listing history. We also show the unfiltered comps. You can see the comps right here. And then remember the statistics I showed you on the main map? That's also included on the report as well. So that print button, every property has it. In order to hit the print button, though, you have to save the property. Yeah, you might want to write this down. You don't have to save anything in Propstream. Like if you're just looking at details, you can just search an address, pull it up, and then close it out, and then go to the next property. So why is there a save button? I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why you would want to save or add to a list. And we'll talk about adding to a list in a second. 3 reasons to want to save. 1, export the data. So if you want to take this and put it on an Excel sheet, you're going to hit the save button, and it's going to send this particular property into My Properties under your favorite area. These are specific properties that you're saving. So as you can see, I have 113 of them that I've done that with. So that's the first reason you would want to save it. Send it to My Properties. And once it's in here, you can check off all of your individually saved properties or one at a time and export that. So that's the first reason to save a property, to export it. The second reason to save a property is to skip trace it. And what that means is for 12 cents, that's the cost, 12 cents an address, we can get you a cell phone, a landline, or an email of this homeowner. Because without skip tracing, we can get you the owner's mailing address, their tax address. We can show you how many other properties they own and their mortgage information. But that contact information, it doesn't necessarily come from county records. We have to work with other providers, which they charge us. So that's where the 12 cents comes at a cost. Now, we place a lot of orders, so we're able to get it really, really, really down to that level. So for 12 cents, I can skip trace this property. And then once I do that, I can go into the contact section and I can see the contact information of any list or property that I've skip traced. And that does include the DNC as well. So we'll show you the phone number right next to it. You'll see DNC if it's on the do not call list. Okay. That's the second
And
reason.
I want to point out to everybody, in many cases, you get multiple numbers and multiple emails. So number one, they scrub against the DNC. Number two, you get whatever data they can find. And I want to relate it to one of the things I mentioned at the beginning, the CRM that we're now using specifically on the listing side, and actually we're moving to in the process of moving over our buyers to the CRM as well. Smarty has built that so you can import multiple emails, and if the first email is no good, it'll cycle through, and 48 hours later, it'll try email 2. And it'll keep working until it finds a verified good email for the contact. So that data is extremely valuable to have that sort of breadth of data when you do the skip trace function in Propstream.
So that's the second reason to want to save a property when you're in the details. One, to export it. Two, to skip trace it. And the third is our campaign section. So when you save a property, you could then go to the campaign section, and that area gives you the option to create as many campaigns. If you have 15 properties, you can create 15 campaigns. Each campaign is separated from the next, but each campaign gives you 3 things. A landing page, so you can set up a website. Hey, so you're up for auction. I can buy your house in cash for 30 days, right? Hey, you're a buyer. I have a listing for you. So whatever your list is, your landing page can speak to that audience. That's the first thing you get in the campaign. And then in the campaign section, you can send out postcards and emails directly to your leads. Postcards are tiered price. So depending on how many and what size, your price will vary. And we do fulfill them for you. So we actually will mail them on your behalf. As for email marketing, that's 2 cents. So 2 cents per delivered email. So those are the 3 reasons one would ever want to save a property. If you're never going to export it, skip trace it, or market to it, then you could just view the details and then walk away. Okay. So that's the top area. The center shows you property information, values, mortgage and debt summary, which includes any liens as well. This homeowner doesn't have any liens. It looks like they only have a mortgage, and here's the balance on it. We can see the equity that has acquired on the property and how many other properties are linked to that tax address. Now, if you still need more information on this property, scroll just a little bit, and starting with property details, this is where it all is just thrown at you. So in property details, you'll see ownership info, property characteristics, building information. If it's a vacant land and location information like zoning, school districts, that could be important to a buyer who might be a contractor or fix and flipper or doing new construction, right? Zoning is going to be very important to those audiences that buy vacant land. So hone in on that. Tax information and any additional units linked to that property. So if there's an, apartment A, apartment B, you're going to be able to see that as well. HOA, last transfers, and last sale information. Every single property starts with property details. Now, right after that, because no 2 properties are ever the same, so this usually happens between property details and comparables. In between that is what we call situational data. So the situational data on this property is 3 years ago, they bought it off the MLS. Do you need to know that? No, but it's information we've acquired and we're just putting it on the property. So if a property is in pre-foreclosure, like these 277 properties, when I go into one of their property details, looks all the same, property details. Oh, but there's a pre-foreclosure tab on that property. Tell me more about that property. Oh, the property's on market. See, I don't even need to speak to the owner. I already know what the owner is doing. They got into pre-foreclosure because of some financial challenges, and an agent got to them to help them out. So now they're listing the property to sell it. That $420,000, guess what? It's going to cover the mortgage, and I'm sure it's going to cover any unpaid debt that they have. And she's still going to walk away making profit. But what happens if it doesn't sell? Right? So this might be a property I might want to save and keep an eye on later on, right? So again, you never really know, but that's our job, is to go get that data for you so you can see what's happening. And if you still want this property, even though it's listed, is it worth 420? Let me check it out. Let me run my comps on this property and see if it's actually worth 420. So I can go in the comp section. You get several options, comps being the first one. You can see flippers, you can see neighbors, you can see cash transactions and other list types. And for any one you click on, it's filterable. So for comparables, being that's our most favorite one, I can use public records. I can use MLS records. The difference between the two is public records are county recorded. It may take longer than what you see on the MLS. Sometimes it takes maybe a week or 2 or 3 to get recorded after an agent sells it, but it's official. Once the county records it, it's official. That's the price. What's also cool about public records, off-market transactions. You don't see on MLS. Like, hey, this property is dilapidated. You know what? Maybe I need a cash buyer who bought something off-market. There's that one off-market cash transaction. Right? So you can see off-market, you can see MLS listings. So, hey, let's say this house was renovated last year by the homeowner, or you're the fix and flipper. You just renovated. So what can I now list it for? So in our MLS, you can see sold listings. You can see active listings. That way you can make a comparison. Hey, what does this 450 that's being listed look like? There's some photos. Oh, that's what a 450 looks like. Guess what? My house looks better than that. I put granite countertops. We have better stainless appliances. The rug, the roof, the paint, the exterior looks better. Man, if that house sells for 450, I should be able to sell my house for 470. We have rental values too. I want to rent this property out. What are agents renting out their properties for? It looks like in this area, depending on the size, and we can see the characteristics, right? That's a 2.2, that's a 2.5. Ours is a 3.5. So we're probably going to be able to rent a little bit higher than 25, depending on the conditions, right? So that's our comp section. That allows you to, dissect the values that are happening around the property and determine what your exit strategy is. Demographics. Remember I told you, unlike most demographics that are the city or zip codes, ours is subject to this property, which means if I click on the neighbor's demographics just next door, the values are going to be different because the pin changes. It's a 1 mile radius around every single property. So around this particular property, there's more owners than there are renters. If I acquire this property, I might consider fixing and flipping it because it's not a renter's environment yet. Now, if it was flipped, if it was 80% renters, 16% owners, and I acquire this asset, I'm probably going to turn it into a rental portfolio. Or if I'm a wholesaler, I'm going to find a person who is a landlord. Hey, I have this property in this area, tons of renters. I think it might be for you. Demographic shows you income, household composition. And again, no two properties' demographics are the same unless they're on top of each other. Tax information. I smile every time I look at this because this is our first data that we ever collected. Mortgage information, and this is going to show you any mortgage information, like who the lenders are. You can see the lender here. And then documents and reports. That's what wraps up. So this is just the first half of Propstream. That's analyzing a property, assuming you have a lead. But what if you don't have a lead? That's where lead generation comes into Propstream. And there's 3 parts to it, okay? We're going to go over part 1, but let me explain all 3 parts real quick. Part 1 is just to build your list. So you're going to search, you're going to add some filters, and you're going to save that list. Doing that will send it over to My Properties into your marketing list area. Now, again, why would you want to add it to a list? Same 3 reasons for an individual property. To export it, so if I want to export these properties of homeowners with portfolios, I can export that. Or now that I've saved it, instead of exporting it, I can skip trace it. Or instead of skip tracing it, I can market to it. Those are the 3 reasons to want to add to a list, okay? So if you notice, I put those in here. So part 1, build your list, and then you can decide whether you want to do part 2, which is an additional cost, or part 3. That also is an additional cost, okay? Everything but the landing page. So the landing page is part of your subscription, but the postcards and emails will cost you. So
And
let's build a
just
list.
Burton, since you brought it up again, I always strive to be 100% transparent with everybody. I don't use the postcard function because we use thanks.io. Grab an account at growwithjosh.com/thanks. We export the data from Propstream. We add it as a list to thanks. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. We won't go into those now. We do from time to time use the email function. And one of the things that I love about doing that is in doing so, Propstream gives you a report with what of the data is good and what's no good. In other words, it'll tell you which of the emails are invalid and which are valid after you send through there. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, for whatever that's worth, I just wanted to point that out to everybody.
All right, so let's talk about lead generation. Now we're going to shift to a different market, and I'm going to search Knoxville. I haven't pulled that up in a while, so thank you, Eric, for volunteering. All right, so when it comes to lead generation, you guys are already familiar with it. So I'm going to repeat what you guys are already doing, okay? Now, in my opinion, there are two ways to approach lead generation when it comes to softwares, assuming the software company allows you to do the second option. But the first thing you want to do when it comes to lead generation is either type in a county, a city, a zip code. You even have our draw search feature at the top left of the map. So you can actually create your own like shaded area, just like drawing your own fence if you'd like. And in the event you need any assistance because it's a new market you're not familiar with, on the top right of the map, we have a heat map and there's 4 categories. You could see estimated values, and that has several options. So if I wanted to see estimated value per square footage, I could do that, and the color legend is right below. If I wanted to see, let's say, price growth over the last 3 years in Knoxville, I can see, now red represents 100% growth, and I can see where areas have jumped in value over the last 3 years. Or maybe I want to find a rental property, so I'm just curious what rental prices will look like. So this heat map could be a good guide when you're, outside of a market you're not familiar with. But the first thing you want to do is definitely pull up your market. And once you see your collective results and all these boxes filled out, ignore them. What I actually want you to do is go into our search filter to the right of the search bar. This is your best friend when it comes to lead generation. So let's break it down really quick. On the left-hand side, there's 120 filters for you to choose from. Now, you're not going to see them all because they're categorized. Now, one of the questions I saw a few moments ago is, can you do vacant land, particularly industrial? Yes, you can. It's actually going to be found in property characteristics. We have a property classification dropdown, so you can do residential, and that shows you all the apartments and commercial buildings and duplexes and whatnot. If you want industrial buildings, they have an industrial building category for you. So in that section, it shows you all the industrial buildings. But if you're wanting just vacant land and vacant land only, you can choose vacant land. And here's the cool part. For whatever option you select, so since I'm selecting residential, my property types here will all be residential options. So the property types is dynamic to your options. So if I choose, for example, vacant land here, now my property types are all vacant land. And someone mentioned industrial, so I can select that option right there, industrial, and it populates those results. So hold on one second, guys. I got to cut my VPN really quick. I think my VPN is blocking my data. So the tricky part, though, is that not all counties label things accordingly. So you'll sometimes see a duplex just be labeled multifamily. For example, newly constructed properties are still labeled vacant land. It takes time for the counties to label them single family properties. So just be aware of that, okay? All right. So pull up the market, go into the search filter. Here are your 120 filters. Again, some of them are just in categories. In the middle, you have a drop down with 19 options. This is why I'd rather you go here because the main screen only shows the first 8 of these options. So we have things like on market, failed listings, tired landlords, deceased owners, tax delinquencies, pre-foreclosures, liens, bankruptcies, divorces. So just like you would go to the county and grab a list, you could do that right here. And then on the right-hand side is your little summary. So if you choose liens, it'll say liens. If you go over here and then add non-owner occupied liens, it'll show you a quick summary. And then if you change your mind, rather than going anywhere over here, you can just hit the X's as you highlight to reset your filters. Okay. So quick breakdown, but here's how to search. Two ways. Okay. The first way is what I call the traditional method. This is what everybody's already doing. And these are your 4 steps. 5. Step 1, pick a list, right? Tax liens, pre-foreclosures, right? This is why a lot of people are like, what list do you guys have? So typically the traditional method is let's pick a list first. So let's say failed listings because you tried to sell, didn't work. Maybe I can give you a cash offer. Okay. Second step, on or off market. You have to now decide. Hey, you know what? I want it on market. So failed listings are obviously off market now, but let's say it's a lien. Well, do you want this lien on market? If so, go to our MLS status section, and the first filter says on market. Yes, I want these liens listed. I'll be honest with you, most
Burton,
of our users
just a
don't.
friendly reminder. This is a real estate agent audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our users, even agents. So let's say you're not trying to share your commission or find something that's already listed on the MLS. Let's say I'm trying to find something off market so I can talk to the homeowner and then get them to want to list with me. In that case, I would still look for off market, right? So looking for someone who's financially struggling right now, they have a lien, a tax lien, HOA tax lien, or even like a credit card lien, off market or on market. So again, it's up to you guys. We'll slide there. I'll be honest with you, 95% of our users are always hitting this button. So step 2 is off market. Step 3 is equity. I don't know what you guys know. I don't in terms of exit strategy, but your exit strategy will dictate how much equity you need. So for example, if I'm a real estate agent and I don't want the homeowner to bring money to the table because they're upside down on their balance, well, then I want to make sure I have a minimum amount of equity. But it's a very competitive market out there, right? You got a lot of wholesalers that are calling before us and all these other people that are trying to make cash offers. You know what? Those guys typically go after properties with a lot of equity. So if I'm a realtor and I'm trying to undercut them, how about I look for the properties they would normally ignore? Like the properties with 20 to 49% in equity. Why? Because a lot of these wholesalers are taught find 50% or more in equity. So they ignore everybody under 49%, right? Like under 50%. So again, there's many ways to approach this. Now, maybe you do something creative. Maybe you're also an investor and you do subject tos and lease options. And heck, you know what? Low or negative equity works for you. So you can go in here and put negative numbers. I want negative 10, 0% equity. All the properties no one wants to touch because there's no equity on the property and they have a lien. But guess what? I know a strategy that can help them with that. So high, middle, low, negative, I'm going to leave that up to you because again, I don't know what your exit strategies are. But let's say we are realtors and we are going to try to avoid these wholesalers. So let's find the ones that they would ignore. Again, 20 to 49%. You have a lien, you're off market, and you're in that equity range. Most people that are trying to make a cash offer would just not even call you. That means more opportunities for me. Okay, that's the third step. Fourth is property characteristics. So we discussed, we have tons of different options. But if you're in the residential space, make sure you choose that. But remember, that's still a big bubble. So what type of residential are you looking for? Are you looking for single family, duplex, condominiums, mobile homes? The reason I want you to get specific is you could waste marketing money easily by not doing that. So if you only work with single family and you forget to specify that, you're going to be sending a postcard to a quadruplex. You're going to be sending a postcard to a mobile home. So specify your characteristics so you don't waste marketing money and time. Okay. And then
Burton,
finally,
I'm going to double tap. I want to double tap on something there real quick because this is a perfect follow-up to a great question we had last week. Someone in a new market was asking, how do I build a database? How do I get clients in a new market? And the meta strategy that I shared was go an inch wide and a mile deep. And that perfectly piggybacks off what you just said. It would be better for you to have a more narrowly targeted list that you're building where you can more effectively communicate to that audience based upon, let's, for example, say property characteristics or whatever other factors there may be at play, and go really deep with that audience with multiple direct mail touches, multiple emails, multiple whether you're picking up the phone and calling, texting, etc., versus, how much data can I get? Can I build this giant list of people? Well, it gets expensive either with your time or your money to then effectively have enough touch points with that bigger audience to get any traction. So I just thought that was a good place to double tap on.
Absolutely. And the final step, and this is something I remember. So this is first step. Let's repeat. It's list off market, your equity, properties, characteristics. And then the final one, ownership info. Remind yourself, guys, the list we're about to build is the list we're going to market to. So cause and effect. If I market to this list, someone's going to probably call me back. So in theory, you get to control who's going to call you back by selecting the owner type. If you want corporate offices calling you back, then choose corporate offices, right? Well, we don't have any results, but if you want individuals calling you back, then select individuals. So make sure you apply the specifications of that homeowner, because again, cause and effect. I'm going to postcard these 201, and then they're going to call me back. So those are the 5 basic steps to build a list in the traditional approach: lists, off-market, equity, property, and owner characteristics. You can keep going. And that's what we would call list stacking at that point, right? Oh, hey, you know what? How many of these liens are also in a default, right? One of them. So we just stacked another category. Pre-foreclosures liens, there's that one property. But be warned, the more filters you add, the lower and lower the numbers get. And we all know it's a numbers game. So Goldilocks, you don't want too big, you don't want too small, you got to find it just right. And so make sure you go for enough filters that you're not dealing with 50,000 properties, but you're not dealing with 5 either. Okay. Once you have your filters, you can now hit close, check off these results. And again, why would you want to add them to a list? The 3 reasons are export, skip trace, or market to this list. Now, before I let you guys go for the rest of the day, where is one more way to build a list? And this is what I believe is the evolution of real estate when it comes to lead generation. And you guys are the pioneers right now. I'm a firm believer that a lead is not always going to be on a list at all. So I'm also a believer that once a person's on the list, they're already being bombarded by like 50 other people and 100 other people, right? Because everyone's being taught, go grab a list. Nothing wrong with that. It's just comparative approach. The cool thing about Propstream is you don't have to choose a list. Remember all that data that we showed you guys earlier in the property details? Well, we made them communicate with one another. That's how you're able to see it all on one page, right? Just because the data is talking to each other. You can take advantage of that. And this is what I call building situations. So you don't pick a list. You just go in there and just create something. But before you do that, there are some rules. Here are the 4 basic rules before you get started with that. Off market. So first thing before building a situation, whatever it is, on or off market. In this case, I want them off market. Second rule, equity. Before you build a situation, what level of equity you need? Well, same thing as before, 10 to 49%. Perfect. Third, property characteristics. Again, before you build your situation or anything, what type of properties are you looking for? I'm looking for residential, single-family properties just like before. And then you guys already know what number 4 is, ownership info. I'm looking for that individual owner who's probably been in this house for like 7 years or so. Okay. So before you build a situation, make sure you have those 4: off market, your equity, your property, and owner characteristics. And then number 5 is the situation. And what I love about our data is you can come up with tons of really unique situations. Like, for example, interest rates. We know they're dropping. Do you know how many millions of Americans out there don't know that they just went down because they're too busy with life? They have 2 jobs, they have kids. They're not real estate professionals like us. They're not an expert in our field, right? We could use that to our advantage. Go to Knoxville, Tennessee right now. Show me everybody that's owner occupied in their house for 7 years or more. They have a mortgage, but guess what? That one open mortgage of theirs is sitting at an interest rate of 7% or higher. I'm going to mail these 89 addresses. Did you know rates just dropped this year? Would you like to know the value of your property and see what you can afford? That's building a problem. That's a situation. I'm not going after a list. I'm going after a situation that could potentially be a sell. And if these guys do want to sell because their rates are high, I just found myself a seller and a buyer. Because they're going to sell their home. They're going to buy one of my listings, right? So this is to me, the evolution of real estate. A lead's not always going to be on a list. But the data that we have allows you to go in here and get really outside of the box. Like, for example, instead of looking for a list, how about we look for that individual in the market who has 10 to 15 properties under their portfolio? Because if they have 10 to 15 properties under their portfolio, let's take a look at one of them, right? Here's 2 owners who have 13 properties under their name. Do you need another property? Heck, I might want to know who they are, build a relationship with them, because if they're constantly buying properties and renting properties, that means I'm constantly working for them. I get to find them new listings, I get to find them tenants. So you don't always have to pick a list. You can go in here and start creating unique things. Here's another one that I think a lot of us forget. The property itself can be the motivation to sell. How about those homeowners who've been in their house for 10 years or more? So years of ownership, 10 years or more. It's owner occupied, so they live there. There's no other property. And the motivation to sell, and this is the reason my mom and dad sold their property. You're in a 3 to 4 bedroom property, and that means a family's in there. But guess what? Your family's been sharing one bathroom max for the last 10 years. 182 addresses for the last 10 years have been sharing one bathroom with their family. How many of these guys have a pre-foreclosure? None of them, which means you're never going to find them on a list. So while all your competitors are out there calling pre-foreclosures, you could be the one calling all the homeowners sharing one bathroom, all the homeowners with high interest rates that need to know about the interest rate drop, right? And how their equity can be used to purchase another property and so forth. So my point is, whether you're using our product or the next product, you guys are in this evolution where you have a lot of data now at your fingertips. You can't do this at the county. If I go to the county and say, "Hey, ma'am, I know you're busy and all, but can you just go through your records and find me everybody with 7% interest rates?" She would walk me out the door. But you have that with us. So take both avenues, the traditional approach and then building situations. And I hopefully sparked a few ideas today. Run with it. Run with them. Keep coming up with ideas. If tomorrow, you read on the article, properties that use paint in the 60s can cause health issues. You know what I'd be doing right now? I'd go in here and say, show me all your property in Knoxville that was built between 1960, 1965. Those are the properties I want. Hello, did you hear about the paint thing that's happening? Did you guys paint your property using that base of paint? That's the conversation starter, and you never know where that leads. So the point being, guys, is have fun. Someone had a question, what is probate, pre-probate? That's actually a very sensitive list. I'll show you what it is. It's our deceased owners. And what that is that someone's passed away, but their name is still on the title. So when we click on one of these properties, we can see that someone is no longer with us. Rest in peace. And again, you can stack with that. I've seen unique ones like show me a deceased owner who was an individual who had multiple properties, right? 5 or more. What are you going to do with those properties? What are your kids going to do with those properties? You guys need someone to help list you or find renters for them? I saw another one that I thought was really interesting. They didn't have to say anything. They just showed me the filters, and I was like, wow, I already know what you're doing. Deceased owners with a reverse mortgage. Where's the mortgage type? There it is, reverse. You guys already know why that's big. You know what I mean? Do the kins, do they know that they're losing equity every month because of a reverse mortgage? That might be the incentive to sell right away. So again, you have lots of ways to build data, whether you're using a category or hands-free, right? Just go in there and build what you need. But that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Burton, yeah. Do you have until the top of the hour by chance, or at
Yeah,
least a few more
no,
minutes? Okay,
I
cool,
can
cool.
definitely
So,
talk away.
yeah, right on. So Jeff asked about geographic search anywhere their data is available. You can search with your account.
Yes.
The quote unquote limitation is for the $97 per month. How many saves can you have, Burton? How many saved properties can you have per month with the $97?
10,000 every month.
That's what
Every
I
month
thought.
we give
Okay.
you. Yeah. It resets and you get another 10,000. So use it all. Otherwise, let's say you use only 5,000. It'll reset back down to 0, but next month you'll get another 10,000.
Well, the point more is you shouldn't use it all, quite honestly, right? Like you if you're hitting
Yeah.
that max, you're not doing anything with that data, right? If you're getting that much. My bigger point is you won't likely run into that limitation. So you can search for properties anywhere in the US, and the only limitation is that 10,000 saved records, which again, Burton mentioned at the beginning, one of the many cool features is you can do all kinds of searches that you want just to see what the numbers are. As long as you don't save them, you could literally, you could do that all month long. Just play around with how many properties fit this filtering criteria and how many fit that criteria. Until you save them, there's nothing, it doesn't count against you at all.
That is correct.
I'm going to share an anecdotal story that I might mess up some of the numbers, but after one of the first times Burton and I did a session, and I think the session was around absentee owners, one of the rock stars in my EXP organization, Shay McGee, he's in Utah. He went and signed up for the free trial with Propstream, which, by the way, it's 7 days. It's totally free. The limitation on the free trial is you can only save 50 properties. Okay, so you get 50 properties to save on the free trial. Shay, and I might get the numbers slightly wrong here. Okay, so this is just anecdotal, but he saved somewhere like 37. It was less than 40 absentee owners. I'll call it 37. I think he manually skip traced them. So he went to like True People Search and looked up their info, called every one of them, and got 3 listings, which then paid for his Propstream account basically for the rest of his life. So I illustrate that point for several reasons. Number one, actually use the thing. If you sign up for the free trial, like actually use it. And number two, by going deep with smaller targeted lists, most of the time you're going to get better results. And number three, don't be afraid to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So great stuff. Mike, I don't know if you are seeing any questions from the Facebook group or if I'm missing anything from the chat. We do try to keep these to an hour, so we've got a few more minutes for Q&A, or we can let everybody go, get their free trial, and start playing around with everything that
people with
Burton
high
shared
interest
today.
rates that need your help
Yeah,
right now, guys.
yeah.
I bet that everyone's like itching right now, like, oh God, I gotta find everybody with a high rate before someone else sees this video.
Yeah,
Trust
one
me,
other
it's a hot
idea.
topic right now.
One other idea I'll share along the lines, and this is an audience that Shay is also having a lot of success with. Now, Shay has now been paying for Propstream for many years because he uses the data. He similar to the one that you mentioned, the 10 years with 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
He's been going like more 15 to 20 years with 2 stories, right?
Ooh.
And them potentially being ready for, are you sick of 2-story living? Would you, are you looking at maybe maintenance-free 1-story living options or property options here in Utah? So that's another great way that they won't, they're not going to show up on a pre-foreclosure list or a pre-probate list. I mean, there might be some that you'll find on those lists, but by taking a different angle, you're building an audience that maybe is not being hit nearly as heavily or repeatedly by the same either real estate agents or wholesalers or other real estate investors in the market. I'll give one other use case of how I use and used Propstream frequently relates to one of last week's topic, just listed, pending, just sold. And I actually sent out pending postcards yesterday around my listing that went under contract this weekend. And I sent it because of the way Thanks functions. I had 2 lists. One was the local owner occupants. So it was like 87 nearby owner occupants and then 59 nearby absentee owners. And so I created those lists by doing, and Burton didn't even demonstrate this, but you can, on the map, you can draw, if you have, say, the outline or the borders, the street borders of a specific neighborhood, you could draw that neighborhood and then you can filter inside of that drawing. So you can say, okay, I did this drawing, which I actually did on my listing. I did this drawing. I said, I want all of the residential properties, and it could be single family or townhome, but I want all the residential properties inside of this box. And then there was a couple other filters that I did, but just generally speaking, I wanted to be sending it to other residential properties because this was a residential property that I was selling. So you're only limited by your creativity as to how you can use this tool and the data within. Mike, am I too safe to? Here's what I'm going to do, because we're pretty close to the top of the hour, and I want to respect Burton's time and everybody else's time. When I think we're getting to our place in Florida, hopefully by 6 or 7 o'clock. So tonight or early morning tomorrow, if there were any questions that were dropped as a comment on Facebook or in the chat, if there was anything that we missed, I will personally reply to that and either answer or point to where you can get the right answer, etc. I hope all of you are leaving pretty excited and motivated to go and check out Propstream, growwithjosh.com/PS, growwithjosh.com/PS. Check it out and play around with the filtering. See what you can come up with, and how can you build your own targeted list that you can, that you can personally then market to create a pipeline of new opportunities for you this, the rest of this fall, this winter, and especially, spring and summer of next year. So Burton, thank you as always. We appreciate your time and expertise, and I appreciate everyone who spent the last hour with us, and those of you that interacted, asked questions, etc. We appreciate that as well. Next week, I have Scott Pierce with Listings to Leads coming on. Scott Pierce with Listings to Leads coming on. He's going to show a killer strategy for expired listings. He's going to dig into some of what they're doing on the buyer representation side with everything that's happened since August 17th, and how you can strategies and assets for helping to justify your value with buyers. And we're going to do some simple ways you can use Listings to Leads to generate the best quality leads. Hint, that is with pending and recently sold properties. So Listings to Leads is another tool that I've been using for years now. I recommend it. It's it's very high value, low dollar cost for what they offer over there. And I'm excited to have Scott on next week for our mastermind as well. Mike, thanks everybody. Thanks for bearing with me as this was the first time I've done the mastermind from the car while on the so I appreciate that, and appreciate you, Burton, and everything the whole team over at Propstream does for our industry.
Yeah, anytime.
Take care, all.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.